evil in human nature.
She wouldn't even harm a fly.
Just like I would tell you, if you're going to do something, do it well. And leave something witchy. Leave a sign to let the world know that you were there.
Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna use my pop socket. I have a pop socket.
What kind of pop socket? Can I see it?
Yeah, it's clouds and it's pink and white and purple. You can't really see it there, but it's just clouds. It's a stamp of clouds.
I wanted Shane Dawson's one with the conspiracy theory.
Oh,
like
my
the
God.
Illuminati eye.
I want to get a Shane Dawson hoodie.
I want the pig one, the one that says...
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. That one?
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel that one is like personally close to me.
No, I honestly want one of the conspiracy theory ones. Or, oh my god, I can't wait. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
For the 30th?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good.
You know what? This guy is like, you think he topped himself with like those YouTuber series that he did?
No.
But then he
He's
like
coming
goes
back.
and tops himself on top of that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, did you watch the Ted Bundy tapes at all?
I did not. I am planning on having a McDonald's
Ted Bundy
and chill.
party?
I'm having a Ted Bundy and chill party tonight. So I'm probably ordering some food and just staying and watching them by myself.
Cool. Did you
That's
see
the
the
best way.
trailer?
Oh, the Zac Efron teaser?
Yeah.
Dead. He looks so much like him and he talks like him. It's crazy.
Yeah. I was so surprised.
Yeah.
That one was really it was surprising. Like I remember I saw the pictures and I said, eh.
Yeah. And the fact that because he was known for like having these really bright blue eyes. And so of course like Efron fits that, because his eyes are like the ocean. He fits that prescription. Don't look at me like that, it's true.
Welcome to Undercover Coven, everybody.
Hi, I'm Ale.
Yes, the Zac Efron fan is Ale, and I'm not a Zac Efron fan, and I'm Paula.
Listen, Nick Jonas got married. I have to move on. So Zac Efron.
Oh yeah, He
That's
did
a
get
lie.
married.
It's always been Jared Leto. I don't know what I'm talking about. His eyes are like
Jared.
the ocean. Nobody else's.
Yes. No. Anyway. Wow, we're so off topic today.
We are.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. A little anxious, but I'm fine.
Why are you anxious?
I don't know. I couldn't sleep last night.
I understand. True. Yeah. My dog threw up last night, so that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you clean it up?
Yeah.
Or did you let the other one eat it?
Ew.
That's what my sister's dogs do.
They do, yeah.
You know that my mom can, I mean, she's not the biggest like dog fan or any animal that is not a bird or a fish. She's not the biggest fan of like animals, just dogs and cats. I think she doesn't like. But so she was staying over for like the Christmas time. She came for 2 months. And of course, when my sister and my brother-in-law weren't home, she had to like watch after my sister's dogs, which is not something that you want, like my mom would ever do willingly. And so one day she was like, I came home and she's like, I came to my sister's house and she's like, I haven't been able to like eat anything all day. I'm like, why? Because one of the dogs threw up and the other one ate it. And now I'm so grossed out.
Oh no.
She was like actually super upset about it.
Yeah. They sniff each other's butts and eat vomit. Like, what do you expect? You can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell your mom isn't around dogs that much.
What do you expect?
Okay,
Oh, no, she's
shoutouts. Let's do shoutouts.
Yes. Paula has all the reminders.
Yes, I have a paper here called Undercover Coven Reminders.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank the Woods Podcast. because they put us in their story, right?
Yeah.
And also, Sandy had mentioned that she does not want to kill her husband. Let's just make that very clear.
Yes.
She got
But
engaged.
if she ever does, I'm just kidding.
But if she ever does, we got the exclusive.
Yeah.
They said
But she doesn't.
it's a Patreon content, exclusive content for Patreon.
Right.
I want to thank Kills and Chills for being so awesome. They talked about us in their last episode for like 5 minutes, and I was so excited. Like, I did not expect that, and I was just like, oh my god, they're talking about us. And it was so cool.
It's so exciting. And also, that episode was hilarious.
Hilarious.
I was watching it very late at night in like my kitchen table. I was just sitting because I got home late, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to it. I was listening to them. I was I was literally like, at a point, I put my mouth, like my hand over my mouth because I couldn't laugh too loud because my roommate's room is like right next to the kitchen, and I was like, yeah, this is bad. But it was so funny. You guys are hilarious. So
those girls are so funny. And it's funny because I remember one of them was like, oh, I was feeling so desconfiada, and I'm like, she speaks Spanish.
She's
weird. So you can officially call me a chinchiller.
Yeah, me too.
We're chinchillers. Woo.
Talking about names for listeners and stuff. So last episode, I thought it was on the second take. So I called them Chickies, remember?
Yeah, we were calling undercover Chickies.
Undercover Chickies. And then I said hello Chickies, and then I was like, oh my god, that's what we should call them. And then I don't think that made the final cut. But yeah.
It was because it was in the first round when we were with Ariana, and Ariana was like, don't say that.
I was like, Chickies.
So
let us know if you like that.
Yeah, do you guys like Chickies? Chickies, undercover Chickies. It sounds like I can imagine like little chickens, little chicks with like men in black suits with glass. I don't know.
Oh, that is so cute.
By the way, just a parenthesis, if you guys hear like a truck or like cars or whatever, I'm very sorry, but it's so hot today, and I don't want to record in my room because it's like an oven in there, so I'm in the living room just in case.
I can't relate.
You can't relate.
I was like, I went into my kitchen just now, like before we started recording, and I was like, wow, it's so nice outside. It looks super nice outside. Like the sun is just in the sky smiling down. And then I'm like, but that's a fucking trap because it's so cold outside that I don't even know.
And then it was like, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
The other shout out I wanted to do is Angela in general, People Keep Dying, the podcast. Angela was the one who wrote in a review last episode, and it was her.
Oh yeah, we mentioned the review, yeah.
It was her from People Keep Dying, and they were talking like that they liked that we do things that aren't like cults from the US or things that are very typical. Mm-hmm. And I actually like that a lot about them because Angela is Korean American? Korean Canadian? Korean North American, North American, and she also does things like that. Like she talks about things that happen in Korea or stuff that isn't well known, and I love that about them. And their information is so spot on. They're very, very nice. And they're very funny too. They were talking about spiders last episode.
Ugh.
I didn't like that.
Why'd you have to mention that? I got the chills on my back now.
Oh my god, John. If you remember John, he's my boyfriend from the last episode. He showed me a YouTube channel that's about, like, this guy that has spiders.
Mm-hmm.
That has spiders.
Why you have to say that? No, stop it.
And okay, so I watched the video, and I'm like... noises.
Yeah, that's... I also have a huge phobia, which I also wanted to comment on your conversation that you were having with them. Like, on the comments.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to mention it, but then Even just talking about it, I feel them crawling on me. It's really bad. Like, I have a huge phobia. So I wanted to mention that apart from, of course, I have a big phobia of spiders, but I have constant nightmares. I wake up at night almost every night. Okay, let's say 5 days out of the week, I wake up from like a vivid nightmare that there's spiders crawling on me from like the ceiling. So like I wake up and like I jerk on my bed.
Oh no!
It's like, because I think there's spiders crawling down on me like from the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And I was apparently I've had that since I was a kid, but now I started realizing it's been more lately. That I just wake up and then I know. So like I wake up, I like go like this, like I move my hand like to get them out of the way, and then I'm like, oh, I was just dreaming, and then I go back to sleep. But it's bad. Like, that's how. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And now they wanted to shout out Fresh Produce Florida podcast as well.
Yes. So they left a comment on I think our last episode picture.
I think
they were like, oh, really cool page, like, and then they told us like check the ours out. So I checked them out, and they're a podcast. They're on YouTube actually. Go on their Instagram is Fresh Florida Produce or Fresh Produce Florida. Oh my god, am I saying this wrong?
Fresh Produce Florida. I got it from their YouTube.
There you go. And then their YouTube. So literally just look that up on YouTube and they'll come up right away. And it's I watched the episode on Eileen Warnos and it was really good.
Cool. Great.
Yeah.
I have to listen to them. Are they girls or guys?
No, it's two guys, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's cool because they're like literally like sitting on a computer. So like they're like right in front of each other, and they have a computer right next to like them, like a TV on the wall. And then they look up stuff while they're talking about it, which I found really cool because they can just check facts in 2 seconds.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a shout out to this program, to this podcast, but wait, I have to find I forgot what their name is. Toys R Us podcast, yeah. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so I was having a conversation, I don't know if you saw it, with this podcast called Toys R Us podcast. They're on Instagram. They messaged us, and they had an idea for an episode.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you about it later, but it's so creepy. Like, I remember I read it, and I was like, what? So it's so cool. What? Yeah, so
I always like, actually, them. I think, yeah, shout out to them. I think they were one of the first accounts that we followed, and they followed us back.
Yeah, that's true. And basically, they do 90s things, like, and they have episodes on like Thundercats and the Easy Bake Oven and
yay,
things like that. And the last shout out, I promise, is the Dark Rose Pod, because they followed us on Podbean, and they're our first follower.
Yay! First and only
follower. So cool. So thanks. That's funny.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so today's story is something I do not know about. We did the same thing last time. It was Ale's idea, and I have no idea what it is. And I'm excited. So
yay.
Go on.
So I mentioned it to you. I'm surprised you don't know about it.
I don't.
But okay, if you really don't, oh my gosh, you're in for a treat. I have so much information. Okay, so this is the Villisca Axe murder. So the Villisca House Axe murders. This is a cold case that happened in 1912 in Villisca, Iowa. So at the time, it was June 9th, 1912, in Villisca, Iowa. The population of the town at the time was 2,000 to 2,500 people. And this is June 9th, 1912. It was when a family of 6 plus their 2 visitors, so 8 people got murdered in their house while they slept, right?
Okay.
So the Moore family, it was Josiah Moore and Sarah Moore, who were the parents. Their children, Herman Moore, who was 11 years old, Mary Catherine Moore, who was 10, Arthur Boyd Moore, who was 7, Paul Moore, who was 5, and their 2 guests, Ina. Well, I was looking at documentaries and stuff, and they called her Ina. I thought it was Ina,
How do you spell it?
but it's Ina, and they kept saying Ina. So I'm just gonna say Ina. I don't want to misspell her name.
I think it's
Ina.
I think it's Ina.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyways, so Ina Stillinger, who was 8 years old, and Lena Stillinger, who was 12, and they were sisters.
Okay.
So on June 9th, Sarah Moore had, I think she was organizing an event at the church, their Presbyterian church.
Ale, we forgot something.
What?
We're not sure yet. Turned 1.
Okay, I can restart everything.
No. We can just say it. Like, congrats to them. No, really. Congrats to them. I'm sorry. I totally forgot about it. Congrats
Happy
to you.
1 year anniversary!
Yes. I'm sorry, guys. Don't hit me. Congrats to you. Thank you for everything you do because you're awesome.
Yes.
Now back to the story.
Okay.
So it was 8 people
Yeah, 8 people got murdered.
in a house that got murdered.
In a house, yeah. So it was 2 adults and 6 children, technically.
2 adults and 6 children. Okay.
Basically, not technically. So at 8 p.m., they were at an event at their Presbyterian church. The event ended at around 9:30. And that's when they started going home. They invited Ina and Lena to go with them because they were scared to walk by themselves in the dark like that late to walk home. So they ended up inviting them to stay over at their house. They were friends with, of course, their kids. They get home like at around 9:45. And they call Ina and Lena's house just to like let the parents know that they're staying over. The parents weren't home, and so they leave a message with the older sister. The next morning, at around 5 a.m., I think, their neighbor Mary was hanging clothes, like she was hanging clothes to dry in their backyard, and she noticed that the family wasn't up yet, which it was weird of them not being up and like doing chores by 5 a.m. ish. So at around 7:30, she checked on them again, and she didn't see anybody like up in the house doing any type of chores, which was extremely weird. So she went over and knocked on the door. Nobody replied. She tried to like open the door. It was locked. And then after that, she let the chickens out of the coop because that was the first thing that they would do in the morning.
What year was this? Sorry?
1912.
1912. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm taking
Which
notes.
was actually the year that my great-grandma was born.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, 1912? I think so. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm taking notes because I don't want to get like enredada.
Get lost? Okay. All right. Okay, so she lets the chicken out of the coop, and she calls Josiah's brother, Ross, so Ross Moore. He comes by the house, he knocks on the door, again no reply, so he uses his spare key to come in. Because he noticed that all of the windows were covered and all of the blinds have been pulled down or whatever, like pulled shut. And so he uses his spare key and he comes in. The first thing that this house still stands. It's a landmark now.
That's what I was looking at, actually.
Yeah.
I wanted to context.
And so you can see exactly like what he would have seen if he would have come into the house, because it's exactly everything is untouched. Half of it, how they would have left it. Not exactly how they would have left it, but yeah.
Yeah.
And so he comes in, and the first thing that he sees, of course, it's the parlor, and then there's the guest room where Ina and Lena were staying. And so he comes in and he sees 2 bodies like with a bloody sheet like covered.
Shit.
So he runs out of the house. He runs out of the house and he phones Josiah's hardware store, like his business, to let one of the employees know to call the town's marshal. He said that something terrible happened, so they need to send somebody down. The marshal
There are
comes.
pictures. I'm looking at pictures because...
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy because the house is like it's like a time capsule. You can see how like older houses around it have been, it's still like it has the structures kept, but you can see they're modernized. But this house is like, you see it and it's like, it's just a time capsule. Like they didn't change anything.
Oh man. Okay.
And so the town marshal comes. Okay, so at around 8:30, so this is about an hour after he found the bodies, and they phoned the store. So the town's marshal, Henry Hank Horton, so he comes and he arrives at the house. He starts the investigation. So at the investigation, as soon as he arrives, he noticed there's an uneaten plate of food in the kitchen table.
Okay.
There's a pot of bloody water sitting right next to it. All the mirrors and the glasses in the doors have been covered with clothing that it was found like on their drawers, like around the house. And so everything was covered. The axe was in the guest room where Aina and Lena were.
Okay.
And it was half wiped clean. So it's like they tried to wipe it clean and they just like did a half-ass job at it. It was leaning against a wall with, which is the randomest fact, with a 4-pound slab of bacon sitting next to it, wrapped up in a cloth. Yeah.
Wait, the axe was leaning...
The axe was leaning against the wall.
A wall,
like
and next to it...
And next to it, there was a 4-pound
Bacon.
slab of bacon wrapped in a cloth.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super random. They have some theories about it, which I think the killer just tried to steal it because he was gonna like run on the road, and then just forgot about it.
Oh, okay.
Or like he had to get out of there too fast, and then like just forgot about it, left it there. That's what I think happened. Okay. But there's some other theories about it, so I'll talk about it later. So they found axe marks on the ceiling and on the walls, and dust in the 2 bedrooms where the murders took place. So they found axe marks and dust particles from the ceiling on the beds. But it wasn't a correlation of like the victims being hit with the axe. So they just speculate that the sorry, Ed, your lost screen was moving in the back.
Oh.
Okay. Anyways, that's random. It wasn't a correlation of like the victims being hit with the axe. So they think that the killer, the attacker, was just like going crazy, like moving the axe like a crazy person, but not actually hitting them at the time that the marks were done.
The blood splatter was everywhere then.
It wasn't. So listen.
Man, what is happening? Okay.
I know. So it looked like he was just moving the axe around, just like being crazy, but not actually killing them. So that could have been... Okay, let's talk about theories later. So Josiah Moore was the only one who was actually hit by the sharp end of the blade of the axe. Mm-hmm. So he was the only one who was actually killed like that. Everybody else was killed with the blunt end. So like with the wooden part.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. And what's funny is that nobody moved from their beds, which it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Amityville murders.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Because nobody woke up, and one of the theories is that he hit them with such a blow that 6 of these murders were children. So it is easy to kill. I guess it would be easier to kill them with one blow, but still it is kind of weird that the parents wouldn't have woken up for this. I don't know. It's just kind of really weird. There was some speculation that their food was drugged, but I mean, that type of kind of research back then, they wouldn't have been able to like really know if they had any drugs in their system.
Yeah.
So okay, Josiah Moore. So I'm gonna get a little bit super graphic here. So just an FYI.
Go on.
Yeah.
I'm good. After the baby burning one, I'm good, man.
You're good? Okay. So Josiah Moore, he was the only one who had been sliced in the face by the axe. He actually had an unrecognizable face, and his eyes, to the extent that he was he was split in half from like the top of his head all the way to like his chin, and his eyes were gone.
Oh shit.
Yeah, to that extent. Everybody else was hit by the other end of the wooden part of the axe, right? The parents were the only ones who were struck more. So they were struck between 20 to 30 times, which they think that the killer killed everybody. Like, they killed the parents, they killed Aina and Lena because they were downstairs, killed the parents because you go up the stairs and you would see right away the parents' bed. And then when you go to the left, that's where the kids' room was, like where the rest of the kids were sleeping.
Okay.
So, kills Aina and Lena, goes upstairs, kills the parents with like one blow, goes back to like the kids' room, kills them, and then goes back into the parents' room and just keeps like hitting them, basically.
Going on.
Yeah.
So Josiah was the only one that was killed with the blade.
With the actual axe.
Yeah, and then his wife?
No. So there is a little bit of confusion there because some people say that she's the one that got the sharp end of the blade, but it was him. Because they actually think that it was... That comes into the suspects, like the theories of the suspects, who the suspects were. But because he was the one who had the more damage, it was because it was something in relation to killing him.
Right. But the wife got killed with the blunt end then?
Yeah. Yeah. She got killed with blunt end. But she did get struck like a bunch of times with the blunt end.
When you say the blunt end, that was my question. It's the bottom part of the axe, the wood, or is it the other side of the axe?
No.
It's the wood.
Oh, that's a good question. They didn't specify, but some parts it said that like the other end of the axe. I don't know if it means the part where it doesn't have the blade, or like the wooden part.
Right, because
it didn't specify. Yeah.
Because if it was the metal part, the other side of the blade.
Yeah.
I mean the axe.
That is blunt. Yeah.
It would have been easier to kill somebody at a first blow.
Yeah, because you just crush it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. But, I think...
That's a weird question, man.
It is, yeah.
The blunt end of an axe, it says.
Yeah. The other end?
Blunt end of an axe. I'm Googling it.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, for him to... use that, it would have been easier to like crush somebody's skull faster in one blow,
right,
than having to struck them a bunch of times. And if he like wanted to kill the kids to be quiet and not for like being malicious, well, it's still a horrible thing that he did that.
Yeah, I think it's the because I'm looking at parts of the axe, and for example, the bottom part where the wood is called the knob.
Oh.
And then the other part is called like the blunt end. So I think it's the metal part.
Okay, so the back part of like the blade and then the back part.
Yeah.
Okay. We learned something today. Good job.
Yay.
Okay. So Josiah Moore, he was again crushed from the upper jaw all the way up to his like the top of his head. So there was blood and brain tissue and skull fragments in the headboard.
Okay.
That were his. And on the guest bedroom, so Lena was hanging about a third of the bed with... Okay, so her nightgown had been pulled up, and like her underwear had been like thrown under the bed, and she had a blood stain like right inside of her left leg, I think, like her left thigh.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like right above her knee. So they think that the killer, so it's speculation that she might have been the only one who woke up because of the position that she was in. Because like it looked like she tried to run and then she was hit.
So
anyways,
was she face down on the third of the bed?
Yeah. So she was like face down, but her bottoms have been like pulled like around. So it looked like they think that she was the only one who woke up because of she was the only one in that position where it looked like she got in that position on her own, like she was in place like that.
Okay.
Because her sister was placed. Everybody else was like sleeping on their bed, and they were like when they were struck. But them, so Lena was like hanging about a third of her bed. Her underwear had been pulled under the bed. She had some blood on her. But then her sister Ina, she was on her side facing her sister, but her bottom, so like her legs, like her waist down, had been pulled around in a way that was facing like her butt was facing the wall.
She was on her side looking at
her sister.
At her sister.
Yeah, and then her bum, like her bum was turned around, right? Which they think that it was that the killer placed him like that just for him to look at, technically.
Yeah.
But then doctors, they did the research and everything, and like the autopsy, it all led to like they weren't sexually abused at all. So they think that he just placed him like that just for
to be provocative, maybe.
Yeah. Because they were the only ones like that. And then that's when the slab of bacon comes in, because they thought that maybe he used it to like pleasure himself. But there was like no DNA found anywhere, like no hair, no like fluids or anywhere on the bacon or like around in the room.
That's interesting.
It is like kind of like, why would you do that? If you were there to kill the dad, because he was the one who got the most, and it's possible that it's because, I don't know, who knows, because he was like, if he was the one to wake up, he would have like fought him. I honestly don't know. Anyways, so the rest of the kids, they were believed to have slept through it, like they did not wake up at all. So when the marshal went back outside after like looking at all of this mess, he went to Ross Moore, the brother, and he said, and I quote, "Oh my God, Ross, there is somebody dead in every bed."
Okay.
And that always gives me chills when I hear it, because yeah. Like for a marshal to say that, I know like it's a little small town.
It's a small town, but it's still like they're never gonna see something like this again.
Yeah, never ever, or they never have before that, right? So they were like completely like dumbfounded, and it was horrifying, right? So the marshal went back into town to call the sheriff, because so the marshal is kind of like a peace officer. I already looked this up. So he's like, I guess he is like a cop, but he doesn't have like authority as like, so a marshal is like local, like a local level, at a local level, and then the sheriff is like the county level.
Right.
Right? So if anything, they have to tell him, right? So he goes back into town to call the sheriff's office, and he made the mistake to tell some people in the town, and just like word spread super fast. And those times he used to use the switchboards. So like in the switchboard, like where they would have it, like they started calling everybody and all the friends and families. Everybody found out.
Oh man.
In the matter of maybe like an hour, 100 people plus got to the scene. They were like going in and out of the house, shouting from like room to room. They all came to look at the bodies.
Oh my God.
They were like came to look at the scene. They probably disturbed a bunch of evidence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the marshal tried to get them out. Thank God though that the marshal and two doctors were able to do some investigation like before the people arrived. So they got most of it out of the way. Like if they disturbed evidence, it would have been like minor things, right? And so the marshal would like try to get people out, and he would like get a bunch of people out through the back door, and like another 20 would come in through the front door. Like it was a madhouse.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Man. That's horrible.
I know. So in their investigation, there were 2 cigarette butts, like unfinished cigarettes, found in the attic. Now, the attic was like an extra room on the 2nd floor where the kids and the parents' room were. Like, it's not an actual attic that you would go into another, like, level. It was right there. It was like a closet. If you look at it, it's super creepy.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. And so basically it's like a little hallway between the parents and the kids' room. And then the door is right there. Like, the door for the attic is right there. So it is believed that the killer hid there, waiting for the family to come home.
Yeah, that attic is so creepy.
It is super creepy. You're looking at pictures?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go into the suspects now, because that's the fun part.
Yay, suspects.
Yay. Okay.
He did it.
He did it.
It says that you said that the marshal's name was Henry
Hank Horton.
John Wayne Gacy.
But Hank was a like an alias. So it was like a nickname.
Oh.
It wasn't an actual,
Okay,
I know.
he didn't do it.
No, he didn't do it. I mean, that would have been, Okay, so this is what's funny to me. So many people were suspected, and some people came forward. And you know what? Through the years, they kept coming forward as the killer. Like, why would you want that?
That's like John Bonet.
It's so random. I find it super random. The same thing like you said with John Bonet. So the same, like you said, the same thing with John Bonet Ramsey. It's like, why would you want to come forward as somebody who killed somebody else? Let alone 8 people. 6 of them children. Like, why would you come forward? I don't fucking know. Anyways, so many people was suspected. Bunch of people came forward. I literally put in my notes, I don't know why. But they were quickly dismissed because there wasn't any evidence of like these people, like nothing came of it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so at this time, which is funny because this kind of aligns with the New Orleans like Axemen murders, like the jazz murders. So along the trail of the Southern Pacific Railroad, there have been multiple murders very similar to this one.
Okay.
Like along the, like from one end to the, like let's say from west to east, like along the railroad.
Okay.
So there were a lot of murders being committed, and the killings were very, very similar. It was done with an axe. Houses easy to reach from a train track or like from a train station. Whole families were being killed by bludgeons, not using like
the axe, the blade,
the actual axe. And in some houses, most of them, the windows and the mirrors were covered.
That's so weird.
So it actually took 2 years for a trial to be set up in this. People at this time were like terrified. Like apparently they were saying that 2 days after the murders, you couldn't find a lock, like a door lock or a gun in town, anywhere, in any store. Because everybody was like just
panicked.
Bulking
Everybody
up
was
and panicked.
Like freaking out.
Exactly. So the main suspects, Frank Jones. So let's start with Frank Jones. He was Josiah's rival. He used to work for Josiah's store until he opened up his own business, and they became business rivals. Their relationship apparently got so bad and so like bitter that they wouldn't talk to each other. Okay. Like they would see each other in town and they would not talk to each other. They hated each other. It was rumored that Josiah actually had an affair with his daughter-in-law, which was one of the reasons that he also hated him so bad. Like Frank hated Josiah. And it was actually speculated that he actually didn't do it. This is a kind of a funny one because it kind of links with another suspect. Frank Jones didn't actually do it, but it is rumored that he he hired what's his name, William Mansfield, to kill them because he just hated him so bad. So William Mansfield, he became a suspect 2 years after the Villisca murders, when he was actually suspected of killing his family with an axe. And he was suspected of some other murders in Kansas City, which was also along the railroad.
Okay.
The killings of his family were actually very similar. I think he killed his wife and kids, if I'm not mistaken. And so the killings were very, very similar. So like he covered all the windows and like he murdered them with an axe. Yeah.
That's weird. That's a really weird coincidence. Unless it's him. But
listen, it is a weird coincidence, but then there is another suspect that also had killed his mom and grandma the same way.
But did he cover the mirrors and the windows?
And then apparently they did. Yeah, he did. So I honestly don't know, like, what? Anyways, let's keep going and I'll talk to him. What is this?
Maybe it's a cult. You know why? Because I remember Heaven's Gate, and when everybody like killed each other, I mean, they killed themselves, and they were all covered with like a blanket.
Oh.
So maybe it was like a thing. I don't know.
Who knows? If it was around the same time as the New Orleans Axemen, who are we to tell that, like, to say that it was like separate people?
Yeah.
It was not separate people, which they think it, I don't know, it kind of links up with it, but there's not enough evidence that it was.
Or maybe if it was, maybe if the press had released like details of the New Orleans axe murder, maybe if they released details, maybe people knew that they had covered like glass and windows. Yeah. Maybe there was a copycat.
True, because do you know about the New Orleans like jazz murders? You don't?
I only know like a little bit, like the.
Okay, just like so for anybody who doesn't know, this happened in New Orleans and also in the 1900s, like early 1900s, 1910. Yeah, because it was jazz music. Is this right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was around the same time. So basically, there was a guy, there was a couple murders, people killed with an axe, and then at one point, the authorities received a letter from this alleged killer. I mean, he said to have been the killer.
This was when? 1912?
1912, yeah.
The axe murders in New Orleans was from May 1918 to October 1919.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I kind of linked up with it, because what if this guy, because this case went cold.
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody was ever convicted for the murders of the Villisca murders.
Uh-huh.
So this person could have just like been just because also the New Orleans axe murder was never found.
True.
Right? So he could have just like been free this entire time.
True.
Right? Anyway, so yeah, at one point or another, authorities received a letter. This is a New Orleans Axeman. Received a letter that on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I think, if the whole town wasn't playing jazz music, like the Demons and him he was talking about something, the Demons, they liked jazz music.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
You've
seen what's it called? American Horror Story.
Yeah.
That's the story.
Yeah.
That's the story. So if like the whole town wasn't playing jazz music, or like the clubs weren't like basically like playing jazz music and stuff like that, he would kill anybody who wasn't listening to jazz music that night. Basically, that's what it was. And apparently they did do it. Like, people was terrified, so like they blasted jazz music all over the town, and whoever didn't have like a vinyl player, they went into clubs, and so like they poured into clubs to like listen to jazz music, and there was not one single murder that night. Which, if you think about it, maybe it wasn't the murderer. It was just like a copycat, or he was just like a troll that just decided that he wanted to listen to jazz music. And he was like, oh, I wonder what would happen.
True.
And just like send a letter in. But anyways, that's for another. We should do that another episode because it's. Yeah, I find
I'm gonna
it's
write
a really
it down.
fun case.
I'm gonna write it down.
Okay, so let's keep going with William Mansfield. So 2 years after, he was finally. Sorry, he finally became a suspect 2 years after, but he was actually acquitted of the charges because on paper records, like on his payroll, it showed that in the night of the murders, like that around the time of the murders, he was actually in Illinois. He wasn't in Villisca, anywhere near like, yeah.
He had an
anywhere
alibi.
Near Iowa. He had an alibi, exactly. So months after the murders, Henry Moore, Henry Moore, he had no relation to the family. It was just another suspect. He got suspected about a couple months after the murders. So he was actually convicted of killing his mom and grandmother with an axe in Missouri. So the lead detective believed that he killed the Moores and that he was actually might have been responsible for 20 other murders along the railroad.
Oh.
And so it's funny because he was never found guilty of the Villisca murders, but he did serve 30 years in prison because of the murders of his grandmother and mother.
Okay.
Yeah. So then that was like nothing came of that. Which if you think about it, he could have been the closest one because he didn't really have an alibi for that night. And also the circumstances of how he killed his family, technically. Mm-hmm. It was very similar to the Villisca murders. So it could have been him, but because nothing came of it, he still went to jail, but not because of the Villisca murders.
Okay.
Right? So Andy Sawyer, he was a transient, they call it. He was just a homeless person who would like, what we call it? Let's say a hitchhiker. He would like go from town to town looking for work.
Okay.
Just asking for somebody if they would hire him. So eventually he got hired. And by this, I think he was like a truck driver or something like that. I can't remember. And so he, the day after the murders, he bought a newspaper that had the news story on the cover.
Okay.
And he got very, very interested about it, which honestly, I don't think he did anything. He was a homeless man. They said that he slept fully clothed, grabbing an axe. And he did mention to his employer that he had been in Villisca the night of the murders.
Okay.
But the thing is, why he got so interested, because like talking about the case to like other people, and he was super interested, like asking for details and stuff like that. But then he also confessed to he kind of confided into his employer that he was scared that because he was a new guy in town, they were gonna think it was him. Yeah.
That's
also nothing became of that.
He was like a little paranoid.
He was very paranoid. Oh, very paranoid for sure. And actually, he became a suspect because his employer told, like, the police, because he was like, he's acting super weird. He's like...
Yeah. Like, I would do the same thing. Like, if somebody came and was like, oh, I'm really interested in this case, but I don't want to say anything because they might, like, suspect me.
Think it's me. Yeah.
I think it's, like, yeah, people would think it was me.
Exactly. But then he was like, well, they're gonna think it's me. Like, he was... But the thing is, there was no evidence at all that linked him to it. So I think he was just fucking paranoid. And he was like, they're going to think it's me. They're going to think it's me. And, like, give himself away to, like, fake... Like, people thought it was him because he was so paranoid. But it wasn't...
I feel like this would happen to me. No, really.
Why?
Like, I feel if there was a murder around here, I would be paranoid that people would think it's me. I don't know. I have anxiety, okay?
Okay. Oh,
I'm sorry.
You know what? I've dreamt that I've been like accused of murder before. It's not fun.
It's not fun.
No. Okay, so let's get to the fun suspect, because this guy,
The fun suspect?
yeah,
He was fun?
there is one. He's like, he was my favorite to read about because there's just so much to this guy.
Okay.
Anyways, so let's start. So Reverend George Kelly.
Ooh, a
He
reverend.
Ooh, it's a reverend. It's always the reverend, but it wasn't. Anyways, okay. So he was a traveling preacher. He was from the UK. He moved to New York like the late 1800s, maybe like going into the 1900s.
Okay.
So he traveled the US, the US country, basically. Like he would go from country churches to country churches as guests, right? As a guest. So he was known as I quote, listen to this.
I'm listening.
I lost it over here. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Okay. A sexual deviant who had mental problems. Like, that was his description.
Okay. I feel like that
Okay.
describes a lot of things, but okay.
Well, you know. So he was actually seen, he was arrested for peeking through windows, like watching women through windows.
Oh, of course. He was.
He was also arrested for, what was it? So he wrote for sexual harassment. So he wrote back like obscene letters to women who replied to like an ad for work at a hospital or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was actually a guest in the church that night of the murders, like that events that they were having.
Okay.
He was a guest at that church that night. So he actually left the town the next morning at around 5:19 a.m. So he took the train. And when he found out about the murders, he became super interested and like fixated with it. He wrote letters to authorities, family members, and like friends of the family, asking for details of the murders. He visited the crime scene and randomly joined investigators that happened to be at the scene.
What?
Yeah. And one of the detectives actually thought it was super weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
so
is
he
weird.
wrote him back. So he
Okay.
wrote him back asking him, so the detective asking Reverend Kelly for details of the murder to see what he would reply with back.
That's kind of smart. Okay.
Right? So Kelly replied back, so George Kelly replied back saying that he happened, and I am error quotes very hard right now, he happened to be walking by the house. So he happened to be walking by the house the night of the murder when he heard the thud of an axe.
Oh, of course he did.
He said the killer was disturbed by a couple passing by, and so the killer stepped out on the porch until they passed, went back in the house. Random, like, how do you know all this? Like, yeah. He said that Mrs. Moore sat up on the bed right before being struck. Okay, first of all, how can you see that from wherever you are? Like, where are you standing from? Why are you watching this?
Okay.
Right? So it was brought up in court that allegedly he was talking about the murders on the train that he took that morning.
Oh, God.
When nobody really knew anything yet.
Oh, God.
So they didn't, but that was just allegedly, like somebody could have made that up. The thing is that they didn't fully believe him because he had mental problems, and most likely he was getting off on it. So it was most likely a made up story. like all of this that he's saying, it didn't really happen. Like he didn't really see this. Happening.
No, I understand. He just wanted to feel special.
Exactly. So he was arrested on 1917. He spent the whole summer in jail. And actually during one of the investigations, he was like being shouted at by the detectives. Like he was being shouted at, he was being threatened to like confess. And he ended up saying that God told him to commit the murders.
Of course he did.
Yeah. So he was actually tried twice for this. And both times he was found very mentally ill, but innocent.
Okay.
So he actually had nothing to do with it. I think he was just getting off on the fact that...
He was getting attention. He was getting attention.
Yeah. So the last... which I don't know where the suspect comes from. I don't know, because nothing also came of it. And it's a cold case, so nothing came of anything, really.
Right, true.
So, this last suspect, his name is Joe Rick. He was actually visiting the town the night of the murders, and apparently he asked around town where the Morris residence was. And a few days later, he was arrested in Illinois because he was asked to step out of the train because he had blood all over his shoes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, but also nothing came of it. Like, nothing at all. And they think... I don't think it would have been Frank who really killed him. I think it was William, whoever his name was. Let me see. William Mansfield. Because his murders were very, very similar to that. And
yeah.
But the thing is, he also had like an alibi of where he was that night. But I don't know. It's a cold case until now. The trials like lasted for like 10 years and they never found anybody. The house is still standing. It's a landmark now. In a museum, so you can like visit it. Yeah. Which I would love to visit someday.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
At night.
At night. And yeah, apparently the house, like, super random note, but the house is extremely haunted apparently. Mm-hmm. Whoever likes the ghost stuff, there's an episode on Ghost Adventures where they go and they like investigate. I was watching it last night. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna watch it, for good old times. It is so cringy. Like Zach Bagans. Jesus, okay. It is very cringy, so
I'm gonna watch it.
Leave it at that. Yeah, you should watch it. It's a good old Zach Bagans being
good old Zach
Bagans. So yeah, that's the Villisca murders.
That still was very interesting. Like, I had no idea. Some parts sounded very similar to something I knew, but that was a cabin murder. So,
the kitty cabin murders?
I think it was that one.
That the mom and the kids were murdered?
Yeah. But I had no idea. So that was very informative and creepy and weird. And so it's my favorite kind.
Yay! I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, it was good. So you think it was the guy who killed people like the same way?
Yeah, but the thing is, that was William Mansfield. It might have been him. I don't think it had anything to do with Frank, like his rival, because, I mean, yeah, maybe he hated him for some reasons, but it wouldn't get to the point that he, like, to murder him. And if anything, like, take him out when he's by himself. Why kill his entire family? I really doubt it was him. Reverend Kelly was just very mentally ill.
Yeah, that guy just wanted attention. He was just like, he wanted to be part of the investigation. He wanted to be like an informant. He wanted to be part of it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then the other one that I think it kind of links up to, like as I was saying, links up because it was Henry Moore, who actually had no relation with the family. It just happened to be named Moore as well. Because he had, I don't think he had an alibi. I tried to look for one, but there wasn't a lot of info on him. For some of the people, there were pictures of them, but not for him. But for him, it was like a wanted ad that I was able to find. Okay. With like his face drawn on it. because he was believed to have been like to have committed, like he killed his mother and grandmother, and then like another 20 others allegedly.
It's just that it's so interesting that the whole like putting clothes on windows and mirrors, that's something really key in this.
It's very specific. And you know what? I didn't want to add it here because that is kind of like a he said, she said situation, where they said that the killer apparently covered the mirrors and the like the mirrors in the windows because he believed that because he was doing something evil, he wouldn't be able to like look at himself in any type of reflection. Because like his soul could get trapped, he could go hell. I don't know, something like that. But I don't know where that comes from.
He took his sweet time. Like he killed everybody, right? And then he went in the drawers and stuff and started taking out clothes. And then like carefully, I mean like patiently, you know, covering everything up.
Exactly.
That's weird. That's
It's very specific. For sure. And the fact that like the murders were done because they got home, let's say 9:45, 10. Sorry, they went to bed, and the murders were like estimated to have happened like right after midnight, like all the way right after midnight to maybe 5 a.m. Because if you think about it, yeah, the neighbor was out hanging clothes by 5:30, and that's when she noticed that they weren't awake. So if anything, because she came back at 7:30, if anything, the killer might have been still inside of the house when she was outside.
Yeah. Oh man,
I mean, no,
that's
right?
creepy. I would love to visit that house one day just to like put it all like in context. That's
right.
Cool. Great story, Ali. I loved it.
Yay! I'm so glad you liked it.
Yeah, next week we'll have something for you.
We'll have something.
We'll have a thing. You can... Are we ending this? Do you have anything else to say?
No?
Okay. So let's end this.
Okay.
You can follow us on social media at Undercover Coven everywhere, anywhere you want. You can.
It's the same thing.
It's the same
Undercover
thing.
Coven.
Yeah.
Please, 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 please. Comment. I am begging. No, just kidding. No, yeah, for sure. Comment. We're always online, so we have no lives.
Yeah, we have no lives.
So we'll reply back to you. We honestly take in any considerations of like what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of.
Yeah.
So let us know.
Yeah.
What you like.
Email us.
You can also email us. Yeah.
At undercovercoven@gmail.com. And rate, review, subscribe, make us laugh with a funny comment, you know. Do that for us, please, because we love our reviewers. Yeah, and again, congratulations to We're Not Sure Yet for the 1 year anniversary.
Yay!
And I'm sorry I interrupted you before, but I just really wanted to say it before like the end.
Okay. It's okay. No, yeah, we should have said it at the beginning.
Yeah,
we're horrible. Yeah.
We're horrible people. Yeah. So have a great week because it's Monday, and
also remember, if you're gonna do it, now do it right. Like this murder.
Remember to be passionate. You know, remember to be right between Antares of Light and Anatoly Mossman. Be right in the middle.
Exactly.
Don't start like a mediocre cult, but also don't like mummify girls.
Yeah, exactly. Also, what I was actually gonna say, and then I kind of changed it. Remember to watch the Ted Bundy tapes because it's on Netflix already.
Yes.
And what are you doing with your life? Like, go watch them right now.
I'm watching
after
Lost.
You're done with this.
I'm watching Lost.
Oh yeah, Paula's watching Lost. That's gonna be a fun ride until the 3rd season.
Okay, everybody, have a great week and stay undercover chickies. Be the undercover chickies. I love that.
Goodbye, my chickies.
Goodbye, chickies.
Goodbye, my chickies. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.